are listening to the Mariam Mkwanda show on Salam Media. It is 12:30 on this 26th day of October 2020. Not very long before we conclude with 2020, and I'm sure many of you are already excited about the end of 2020. But let us hope that we do not get 2020 version 1. It should just stay there. We don't want 2021 to continue uh, uh, being that year, that year that just changed things. And, we learned words like new normal and quarantales. Quarantales is a set of short stories written during the lockdown period. And the author of the book, Sanele El Nkompela, is joining me on the line right now to tell us more. Good afternoon, Sanele.
Well, good afternoon.
How are you today?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing well and doing yourself.
Awesome, really good. So tell us about Quarantales. What inspired you to compile this book of short stories?
Well, as a writer and a worker at the same time, we got what is called quarantine leave at work.
Mm.
So it offered me sufficient time to write. And during this lockdown period, there is nothing on what is the leave is all about inspired me to write.
Mm-hmm.
So I put together a couple of, because I knew that it's a very short period of time. I couldn't put together a novel.
Mm.
So short stories were ideal, informed or inspired by all the events that were taking place during the national lockdown period. The short story book, which is composed of 8 short stories, ranging from issues that relate to a violation of lockdown rules, things that relate to the virus itself, and many more. So the title is, inspired by the quarantine itself. It's Quarantales. So that's how it came about.
All right, it does sound quite interesting. Quarantales, a collection of
Yeah.
short stories. So, what are some of the stories that stood out for you?
Sorry, ma'am? I
What are
didn't get
some
it.
of the stories that stood out for you in the book?
Well, I got there. The Zoom meeting boycott. Very interesting because you will remember that in working class communities, there had been this activity of land occupation.
Mm-hmm.
And based in the city of Cape Town, which happened to be holding its meetings or council meetings virtual. So the folks that were occupying land, so it fit to boycott that meeting on the basis that they wanted to have their interests taken into account immediately. That's one of the stories that is there. And you have some, because you have to remember that this book has a setting in 4 different towns. In Ferris, around April, there was a snow. So young adults got fascinated and went to play skiing. And in the process, they were arrested for breaking lockdown regulations.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the stories there is about those young kids who had been arrested for breaking lockdown violations.
Mm-hmm.
Another one relates to a farm girl who works in Stellenbosch, but her home is in Philippi. There is a working class again area where she hails from. So this girl is facing artificial conditions. She couldn't be able to visit her mom, and the provincial government at the time passed a regulation which says no one above the age of 55 is going to be tested coronavirus. So that farm girl loses her mom because ultimately her mom dies on the basis that she couldn't be attended to
Mm-hmm.
medically, on the basis that she was a little below the age of 55. So the protagonist there, who happens to be that farm girl, is facing that very bad situation. So we have 8 stories there in general. I'm just highlighting the few. And the very first one, which is quite interesting, because you will remember the brouhaha over the mainstream media, a diplomatic fight as to where this virus originates. So you may put the dots together in that very first short story. Its title is Patient Zero Puzzle. But it's quite interesting there because the protagonist is receiving treatment, and at the same time, treatment of coronavirus. At the same time, she explores what is called bibliotherapy, finding healing through reading books. Quite interesting. It's set in Wuhan.
Okay.
So that's what I have. I've never been to China, but I made an intense research about the town itself, so that I can have a proper setting of the story.
And one story that stood out for me is chapter 2, Zoom meeting boycott. Because Zoom meetings have become like the new normal. We are doing it all the time, and we're still doing it, having our webinars and well, they are now called webinars and no longer seminars and conferences. And we are like, can Zoom meetings just end already?
Yeah. But people usually go to the venue of a meeting and storm there, seeing and make all sorts of disruptions. Now, they couldn't be able to do that on the basis that these meetings are held online. So they wanted to get an IT specialist who was unemployed in their community. So what he did was to try to get themselves passwords in order to enter in those meetings so that they can be able to boycott them. So it's quite an interesting book which speaks specifically to things that are called new normal.
Yes. Now, the structure of the book itself is quite interesting. First of all, it's pretty short, like you said, only 8 stories and 119 pages. But there are also points here and numbers that you use. Tell us about that and the need for such.
Okay. The numbers on the edges of the page.
Yes.
Well, when I was a grade 9 student, because I got intrigued by literature at that stage, I first saw this in a book by Shakespeare called Merchant of Venice. I liked the structure, and those numbers are meant to help you as to the numbers or the number of sentences in a page, and you can be able to, in the process of reading, make a mark as to where you have left, so that you begin there when you revisit the book again. So it helps you if you don't have a bookmarker.
Yes.
That's the purpose of those numbers.
All right. Okay.
It's simply that.
All right. Okay. And then a person can just highlight it there or put a little sticky note next to it if they want to write down anything with reference to the story. All right. Sandile, how can people get a hold or how can people get a copy of the book?
So long I have an ebook, it has its own ISBN. The hard copy is going to come immediately when you enter into November. This book should have been out, the physical copy, but I had squabbles with a number of printers who I asked to print my book because they were not positively replying to my inquiry as to whether they are using ecological friendly material to print books. because I subscribe personally to the standards that are set by the Forest, Stewardship Council. As an environmentalist, I very like, or what they are advocating: protection of our vegetation, protection of forests, and so on, and the responsible manner for which they are used. So I got later a printer which has those standards or which subscribes to those standards. So immediately when you enter into November, it may be the second week of November, I'm going to organize a book launch where free copies, physical copies are going to be distributed. So it's going to be available soon, the hard copy. So long an ebook is available free.
All right.
And I have a website. People can get in touch with me, which is www.incom.com. There is a slash between com or a hyphen between com and com.
All right.
.co.za. www.nko-com.co.za. So they can get my email, the readers.
All
I
right.
can send a free copy to them. But the hard copy is going to be available in the second week of November.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your time, Sanele, and good luck with the release of the hard copy. We'll be looking forward to that. And whoever else wants the copy in the meantime, they will contact you. But thank you for chatting to us.
Miriam, thank you very much. Very few radio stations will do what you have done. Considering the fact that you are based in Joburg and in Cape Town, I've never thought. I'm very much humbled by what you've done.
It's a pleasure. We always strive to give a voice to the voiceless wherever we are, no matter what platform. I mean, being online makes that even easier for us and also to reach as many people as we can.
Thank you very much. Definitely, I will have to post you a copy when they are available.
Yes, thank you very much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. That was Sanele L. Nkompela, the author of the book titled Quarantales, a set of short stories written during the national lockdown. Very interesting stories here. If you have the ebook, like I do, you'll get to read it and hopefully enjoy what you read. And also let us know what stories stand out for you the most. I'm sure you can relate to many of them. I mean, we have been part of this lockdown since day one, since it began. We have been part of it, and we have our own stories to tell. And also, I noticed that people have been doing videos, recording videos about their lockdown experiences, what the lockdown is all about, living their life in quarantine, etc. So, yeah, very interesting story, a very interesting book here. And you can contact him by going to his website, www.nkom.com.co.za, or you can give or you can visit him on Facebook or Twitter. On Facebook, he's Sanele L. Nkompela, and Twitter, it's at Nkompela. And the book is just 90 Rands, but 60 Rand for unemployed volunteers and students. Priced right, so you'll never go wrong with that. Supports Black and Black and proud. Okay, it is 12:44. You are listening to the Mario Mukwanda Show on Salam Media. Just stay with us when we come back. It is the competition. I used to think that I was dreaming.
It's time to act now. COVID-19 is a global pandemic, and we need your help